telling you about some of the strange connections and names that have come up during the Diddy trial, including Obama, and the latest has certainly raised some eyebrows. Mike Myers and the CIA have made an appearance in the Diddy trial. Mia, operating under a pseudonym, an ex-assistant of Diddy, appears to also be an ex-assistant to Mike Myers. During her testimony, Mia testified that Diddy sexually assaulted and abused her, described a toxic work environment, stated she saw Combs attack Cassie Ventura, the prosecution's star witness, and she dropped some very interesting information about working with Mike Myers. The story, according to the Daily Mail, is that Mike Myers may have been dragged into the trial over a scene in 2002's Austin Powers Goldmember, where the character of Dr. Evil had an E. Diddy tattoo on his buttocks after spending time in prison. Where this gets very interesting is that Mia mentioned Myers' name in connection to the CIA. According to AOL, during an intense cross-examination, Mia told the court that she'd previously worked for Myers. She said that she handled all unique requests for Mr. Myers, including setting up a private and confidential tour of the CIA. She did this by corresponding with Secret Service agents and government officials. And this is true. Myers really did take a tour of the CIA headquarters in Langley, Virginia back in 2009. During his tour of the iconic building, he reportedly visited the museum and had lunch with officials. People were quick to include Myers' film repertoire as a spy in comments about visiting the CIA. International man of mystery, some of them said. Now that's all very comical, of course, but this personal assistant, Mia, also went on to work for Madonna. So she's very connected to some very questionable celebrities and apparently well connected to the CIA and the Secret Service too. So this latest revelation really does point to what we've been speculating all along. Diddy was running a hip-hop version of Epstein's sexual blackmail ring, and potentially intelligence agencies were also involved here in some way, as they undoubtedly were with Epstein. Former US Attorney Brett Tolman recently appeared on Benny Johnson's show, asserting that Diddy and Epstein ran nearly identical blackmail operations, both protected and enabled by intelligence agencies. Take a listen.
I think there's a pattern here, though. You see Epstein, you see others. There's rumors that float around that they worked, with the government agencies at times, and I would not doubt that. I would not doubt that there were CIA operations or FBI operations that were ongoing over the many decades in which many times these individuals were operating, criminally. And you go back to Epstein, and I was flabbergasted at the deal that, my colleague and friend, Alex Acosta, the U.S. attorney at the time in Florida, offered to Epstein. I mean, the only reason that you would believe that such a deal would be granted in that kind of a case and investigation was if there was solid information. Of course, we'll never know at this point, but there had to have been some solid information about some very high-level targets in order to give such a deal to an individual that was such a criminal.
It's quite clear at this point that the similarities between the Epstein operation and the Diddy operation have links to intelligence, blackmail, celebrities, and high-level officials. What remains to be seen is what comes of all of this. There's a lot of focus in the mainstream media about the physical abuse endured by Cassie, for example, but very little focus on the actual operation that Diddy was running and potential forces behind it. Where are the tapes? We've been told that apparently there's thousands of tapes. Diddy had cameras and footage stashed away in secret rooms. What prompted the FBI to raid his house in the first place? What evidence was gathered there? At this point in the trial, we're hearing some, albeit revelatory claims being made, celebrities and politicians alike being linked to Diddy, but very little about what the blackmail entailed. Was Diddy responsible for gathering the blackmail material, and were the intel agencies responsible for utilizing the material against the people involved? What were they blackmailed into doing? It's a very deep rabbit hole, and one can't help but feel we're being drip-fed some names, just like with the Epstein trials, without ever getting to the substance of the operation. Nonetheless, we will keep you informed as more details arise.